Yeah, so the
Yeah.
teams that aren't even in contention, right? A bunch of them are the
Right.
day after the week 17 is
So
called.
so last week we were talking about the idea of Urban Meyer potentially being linked up with Trevor Lawrence, which now is coming to fruition that they Jacksonville has picked them up. Obviously, they're still going to have that first pick. What are you guys' thoughts about that? I know we talked about it a little bit last week. I think Arash, you and I were in the same boat. I get it, it's a college coach coming in, but if there's a time to do it, now's the time with the potential that the team has. I think they can shake up a lot of things in Jacksonville for the next year or so with the cap space that they have, the draft picks that they have. And there's a lot of unrestricted free agents coming off that off the books as well.
It's a great situation, right? I think we touched on it last week. I'm curious to know what these guys think about it. But if you're a head coach or a college coach thinking of coming into the NFL, this is the best time to jump with the Jags. You have the number one pick. You have a great cap situation. And I think they have multiple first round picks, if I'm not mistaken. It's a great opportunity. And I think Urban Meyer squeezed them for all the money that he could get.
I
Yeah.
think
So
that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say what I don't remember exactly how many of the picks they have, Arash, but what they're looking at right now is they've got basically 73.3 million cap space. I think they've got 11 draft picks coming up, and they've got 18 unrestricted free agents, which is a good and bad thing in the sense of you can cut who you don't really want and then go after the guys you really want to keep and rebuild. So I think they're in the greatest position to do that, to really turn things around, shake things up. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's a great situation for Urban Meyer. I don't know how successful Urban Meyer will be in the NFL. I mean, I'm just thinking about like all the college coaches that have been first time head coaches in the NFL and how like almost none of them worked. Like I think his comments about like he made comments prior about like how it's not that different. Like, and I remember Randy Moss responding to that like recently, talking about how this is a man's league. Like, you can't just force people to do anything now. All these guys are getting paid way more than you, first of all, and they're all men now. Like, these aren't kids in college anymore. And I think if that's how his mentality is going into the situation, I don't think it's going to work. I think that he has to think that this is a different game. And like, can you guys tell me who like the most successful head coach was that came out of college? I don't actually know the answer to this. I'm actually just posing the question.
Pete Carroll.
Second
Oh,
time.
he
Second
was
time.
not the first time. Second time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The first time. Like, I don't think that one.
I don't think great situation for him to go into in the sense that I feel like the Jags want to win. They'll get him what he needs to win. And obviously you got the number one pick, so you get whatever selection you want. I don't think that there's going to be a rush for him to win now.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's a great situation for Urban Meyer. I don't think it's a great hire overall. Just because it's like you just said, first time head coaches, they're not typically successful. I think Chip Kelly was successful for like a season or two.
Yeah, and then he made it so he wasn't
Kelly
successful.
was a little bit. Yeah, then he cleared out the whole house, and everyone figured out what he was doing. Right, it didn't work out.
And you can kind of say like that was Andy Reid's team that he kind of took to the playoffs. So, I don't like it. But the one hire I do like is Robert Saleh, or how do you say his last name?
Wait, before you say go to the Jets hire, I just want to say this. I'm gonna hedge what I'm saying with eventually one college coach is gonna be good. Maybe it's gonna be Urban Meyer. I mean, I would say
I guarantee you there has been that guy that has came in and was successful.
So, what I'm going to say is, how nice is it for him to be coming in and have the first pick of the freaking draft, and you're getting a Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback?
Agreed. I mean, look,
according to a lot of you guys, right? You guys said that Trevor Lawrence is a real deal. It's one of those quarterbacks that we haven't seen in a long time. So, with the notion and the weight that he's coming in with, and you've got a college quarterback that obviously in Florida was super successful. He won 2 titles there with Tim Tebow. Hey, man, exactly what you want. You got a Trevor Lawrence coming in, and you come into the league. So this is the best case scenario. If you fail here, you had all the right things in place, pretty much, or at least for you to start fresh from.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. I mean, they're probably. I'm gonna say with recent history, there haven't been very successful coaches. So, like, I mean, someone can rewrite that book, right? Change Urban Meyer's situation changed my mind. but I just don't know if it will happen. I don't know if it will happen. But go ahead with the Jets. What's his name? Robert Salah. I don't know.
First
By the way, I
Muslim
think I
head
found out
coach.
that guy that was successful, Jimmy Johnson.
Very
so-
successful.
Yeah, but that was 20 years ago now. So like not recent history. So it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's bound to happen again. But also the Cowboys were a better situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Robert Salah, like number one, I really like this guy. Like I think he is a hard-nosed head coach. Shout out
Oh,
to him.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pause you right here. There was a recent head coach that was good right off the bat in 2007. Jim Harbaugh came from Stanford.
That's true.
And he was fairly successful fairly quickly. And then he left on his own terms to Michigan. So just throwing that out there. I'll shut up now because I'm wrong about everything. So go ahead. My bad, dude.
But yeah, Robert Salah, like, you know, like he killed it with San Fran, like being their defensive coordinator. Like even when they were making a big push in the playoffs last couple of years, like, you know, their defense was a big part of it. And, you know, on top of that, just like, you know, his birthday is January 31st, so big shout out to him and me. Like,
That's funny. That's fair.
But he's the first Muslim head coach in the NFL history. Like, big shout out to that. Like, he's
That's awesome.
Chinese descent. So, I mean, not that that makes a difference whether or not he'll be a good head coach or not. It's just, you know, it's good for people.
Optics. It's good for optics for the NFL for sure.
Well, it's also good to show, like, it's good to notice that the league is, you know, making a push, whether it's obviously it's not the league's choice, but like the league is growing in many ways, not just financially, not just competitively, but from a standpoint where people are getting the opportunities where they hadn't before.
Yeah, Sarah Thomas is going to be the first woman to be a ref in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think out of everyone, I think Robert Salah, out of the head coaching hires, probably has the best chance to be eventually successful. I think, you know, like he's going to build a solid defense. I kind of look at this as like that Rex Ryan format of when Rex Ryan was the head coach and they were successful. They just built a very strong defense. And I think that's what the Jets are going to try and do this time.
I mean, if you just look at the lineage he's coming from, he was a Seahawks defensive quality control coach during the Legion of Boom. He was the linebackers coach during the like Jacksonville Jaguars. Then he was on the defensive coordinator on the 49ers. I mean, like he's learned from, he's been in great situations to learn a lot. So, I mean, it's not a bad hire in any way, shape, or form. It's not a bad hire in any shape or form.
He's basically got the tutelage from Pete Carroll and Kyle Shanahan, right? He's been with great guys. Like you're basically doing a 180 from the Adam Gase fucking experiment that didn't really work out. So you got a guy like this coming in, like JK said, sound fundamental. He's trying to set up the organization's reputation, right? Coming in as this hard-nosed guy. But you're moving away from what failed. So you should be open to it. You don't have a guy trying to come in and do the exact same thing that already failed for you.
Exactly. And I mean, like I don't think you can knock this hire, in my opinion. I mean, the only other hire that only other person I think that's still out there that you can go hire is Eric Bellamy from Kansas City. That's like the only guy in my opinion.
And I feel like one of these last three teams are waiting for him.
Exactly.
Like Philly, and they're all still looking for a guy.
Or you could argue Doug Peterson if you had waited just for that. I mean, that's it. Other than that, nothing else, in my opinion. What about you, Arash? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I love the hiring. I tend to prefer defensive-minded coaches more than offensive-minded coaches, which Robert is. But yeah, Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City is a huge target. Both these guys should have had an opportunity last year. If you remember, they both interviewed with teams. Both of their teams did well, right? This was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers in the Super Bowl, the offensive coordinators for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I was surprised they didn't get opportunities last year or this past offseason. But it looks like Robert's gotten his opportunity, which is hopefully a good one for him. And the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric, should also get one. So if there's one that may perform better than Robert, it would just be Eric. But I think Robert's a great signing. The Chargers hired Brandon Staley. No idea who that is. Atlanta
defensive coordinator of the Rams.
Smith.
Defensive coordinator of the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I mean, their defense has been good.
Are they good?
The defense of the Rams has been good. But they've had a lot of pieces.
Good players.
Yeah.
Sure.
They have two of like the top 5 players
At their position, sure.
in the NFL.
Right. That makes I could be their coordinator and do a good job if those are my guys.
Basically, like Arash is saying, just a couple points on this guy where I'm in the same boat as you. So this guy 5 years ago was coaching D3 John Carroll University. He's 38. He's had 4 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, what does this guy have for offense? Like, you got to Justin Herbert. You want someone that's offensive minded to take the potential with this guy. He showed it in the first year.
I think for a young guy like that, it comes down to who your staff is, right? Who do you bring in your staff? Because I mean, you could say the same thing about Sean McVay. He was just the offensive coordinator of like the Redskins at the time, who weren't that great at that time, right? But he hired Wade Phillips to be the defensive coordinator and made that team good, right? And he played a lot of Madden, and he told Jared Goff where to throw the ball, and it all works out. So we don't know, but I agree. I understand.
At one point, people were making fun of Eric Spoelstra hiring, right, in Miami Heat, and look how great he did. So you never know.
You have the same with Williams, and we're like, whatever, or not.
I think a key difference between Eric Spoelstra and the NBA to this dude, and also I think for this dude, like, it really depends on the staff that he puts around him. Like when Eric Spoelstra was in Miami, he had LeBron James, he had Pat Riley kind of coaching him up on how to coach, right? With Sean McVay going to the Rams, it was more so like, okay, he's the figurehead, he's going to run the offense, and the Redskins offense was good when he was with us. It was more so the defense, he didn't even touch that with the 10-foot pole. Like, he let Wade Phillips do that, and that's why they were amazing. Wade Phillips is one of the better defensive coordinators of our generation. So I think it really depends on this guy on, like, what does he do to become, like, for his coordinators and wise, like, who's he going to hire to kind of help him run the offense and so forth.
I agree. I mean, let's say he can get a top tier, some top offense coordinator come in and work. It'd be great. But what happens if he leaves in a couple of years, 1 year, 2 years? Then what? You're still left with this young quarterback, this offense. I think that's the real key there. Is they're looking for some longevity, right? You're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, not a 1 year stint, 2 year stint.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got everything in his, everything. He can prove us all wrong. It's not. I don't personally see. I'm like, okay, this is not appealing or whatever. It is. It is what it is. They just promote it within, and that's it, right?
Well, no, they didn't promote from
within. Not promote within, but you know what I mean.
They promoted from across the street.
Yeah. I mean, look, he has a lot of pieces. He has the Bosa. He has Bosa, Joey, or whichever Bosa it is. I mean, he's a decent. Derwin James should come back. I mean, he has a decent defense to build off of. He's not coming in with nothing. So, I mean, the Chargers are notorious for picking bad coaches. But anyways, let's go. Next one, Atlanta. Arthur Smith. I thought it was Arthur Blank when I first read it. I thought the owner was just going to start coaching. I was like, this 90-year-old dude that started Home Depot just with a headset trying to coach Matt Ryan. I thought that's what was about to happen.
I don't know how I feel about this hire either. Like,
I like this less than the Chargers hire, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, okay, when you think of the, like, the Tennessee Titans, like, he was their offensive coordinator, but, like, when I think of the Titans, I think of, like, okay, Derrick Henry's just running over everyone, and then they have, like, a pretty solid defense, right? Like, they play strong defense and a strong running game, and that's what their thing is. This dude's doesn't really seem like he's that innovative. Atlanta doesn't have a strong running game. Like, they're just kind of like whatever. They're more of a pass-happy team, and their defense kind of sucks. So, like, what is the point of this hire? Like, this hire, I was just like, what? Really? Like, are you kidding me? But what do you guys think?
I'm gonna throw a couple stats out at you. I think a little opposite of what you said. Sure, Derrick Henry's running over people, but when he came in, right, he basically revamped that offense and architected like Ryan Tannehill being significant again when he came in. So Tannehill basically he came in week 7 of 2019 season. So since then, Tannehill is first in the league in yards per attempt at 8.5, third in touchdowns 550, third in passer rating 111.3. Derrick Henry, who led obviously with 3,500 yards over the past 2 seasons. So great. I get what you're saying, just rushing, but I feel like, I mean, at some point he's the one that kind of conspired that kind of got it going. And it's not just like Ryan Tannehill came in. It's not like he wasn't in the league already or whatever.
I will say if you can make Ryan Tannehill look as good as he did, I guess you're
Matt
worth a lot.
Ryan looked phenomenal
Exactly,
too.
right? But I could argue it either way, right? They were a really good. They were a top 4 scoring offense this year, but they were also the top 2 like rushing offense and a top 23 passing yard offense. So like you're gonna have to rely on the passing and in that off because you don't have that running back like JK said. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to play out. I don't think it was like again. You could have gotten Eric Bellamy in my opinion. You could have made that call. You could have waited out for that. I just don't think it's a better pick than that when there's a guy still out there. That's like the standard I'm comparing it against, right? I mean, Andy Reid's coaching like tree is great in that way. So why not go from that tree? Not Mike Vrabel's.
So fair enough what you said, but I wouldn't go as far as what you said that you like this less than the other hire. I mean, if you're looking to get the most out of Matt Ryan, like I kind of do like this. I don't think it's bad as the other one that we just talked about.
I think it's fine. That's fair. I think it's the same, to be honest. I'm not excited about either. I think that's what it is. I'm not excited about either. I'm also upset that Eric Bellamy doesn't. He's gonna end up going to the fucking Eagles, and I'm gonna be pissed. That's what's gonna happen. That's what I don't want to happen.
So pissed.
Yeah.
One of the head coaching vacancies outside of Philly and Detroit that we haven't touched on is Houston. And the situation there is unbelievable, right? So you have this franchise quarterback who, when you say franchise quarterback, you got to know that that's different than just a starting quarterback. There's only a handful of franchise quarterbacks in this league, and Houston has one, and they're completely just screwing their situation with their quarterback and their relationship with him. They hired a GM without consulting their quarterback. And the only reason Deshaun Watson's upset about it is because they promised him that they would involve him in that process. And so if you're going to do that and then completely snub him, obviously he's going to have hurt feelings. So now there's the potential that he's available for trade, or he says he's not going to play for Houston. If I'm Washington, man, I am throwing the house to see if I can get him. In other Washington news, they hired their new GM, the former GM.
Pete's face was just like, God damn it, we gotta talk about this shit.
Must you ruin another quarterback?
I'm just making a quick note. Marty Herney, new GM for Washington football team. Deshaun Watson, future QB for the Washington football team.
No, we don't have enough to get him, and it's $80 million. It's not gonna happen.
It'll require 3 first-round picks. It'll require
that.
either Montez Sweat or not Chase Young, but either Montez Sweat or Jonathan Allen, and probably some other picks. And you have to give them a quarterback to work with.
But the Jets and Miami are well positioned for this.
Hey, I'll put a side bet on it right now.
That it won't happen.
No, not even that. I'm going to put a side bet on it right now. Deshaun Watson's not going to go anywhere. They're going to go all in on Eric Bellamy to make Deshaun Watson happy. And that's why he's going to come back into the fold.
They should do that because you do not want, even if you get so much back in return, it's hard to get a franchise quarterback. You shouldn't give up on that.
If you're Eric Bellamy, why would you take the worst position possible in the NFL? Like, one, you don't have cap space.
No, let me ask you something. I get that. Okay, I understand that you don't really have a lot of cap space.
You don't have any picks.
You don't have any picks. You don't have any players. Bill O'Brien completely fucked that situation.
You're taking the worst situation.
Let me ask you something. After the Chargers, right, who have they drafted a franchise quarterback, right? The Chargers got one, right? Now, out of the teams that are left, you have Detroit, no quarterback. Well, you have Matthew Stafford, but
who you could trade and get a 3rd-round pick back.
Yeah. Or you have.
He didn't even want to be in this conversation anymore.
But I'm not even talking about Washington football team. All right, you got Philly. You got Detroit, and you have Houston. Out of the 3 situations left right there, right? Philly has a messy quarterback situation with Carson Wentz. Detroit has kind of an open-ended, you just have an aging quarterback. And Houston, where you have a young guy that's
I would argue that you're going to ask which is the best situation, right?
Yeah.
I would say the best situation is that the one where I would take a team that's rebuilding because I have more time then. because you're not going to get fired in year 2. You don't need a quarterback this year. You can get one next year. Just make this year.
Do you think whoever gets hired in Houston is going to be fired because they're not successful after what just happened to them?
I mean, no, I'm not saying that. But he's not going to have cap space for 2 to 3 years. That's the problem. He's not having cap for 2 to 3 years, and they don't got a first round pick next year, I believe. Right? Like they traded everything away.
If I'm a head coach candidate and I have my choosing, I go Philly.
Yeah.
Philly's the best opportunity. You got to look at it like you have 2 quarterbacks. That's one asset to trade. You're in a division that couldn't even get a winner with 8 wins. So it's easy to freaking take over that division.
They also got rid of their head coach after he won them a Super Bowl 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I would argue the best one is actually the Chargers because look, you got a young quarterback, you got a nice offense, you have a great defense.
Chargers is the best situation out of all of them.
The Chargers have a head coach.
They already have a head coach. I'm talking about
you know what? Maybe you just wait one more year. If you're maybe like you tell your assistant hold my calls. I ain't going to none of these dumpster fires.
Well, most situations are dumpster fires when they get rid of their head coach. You don't really have great ideal situations. I
mean, Ron Rivera took over an ideal situation.
Ron Rivera's situation was a dumpster fire on top of a dumpster fire on top of like a whole dump being on fire.
Yeah,
and he won the division with all that going on.
I'll say this. What's his name? The Cowboys head coach took over the best situation last year.
Took over the best?
Yeah, I think so.
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
How?
Because that offense was loaded.
Is loaded, but he didn't win the division. He got lucky because Dak went down.
Yeah,
and that almost gave him
I'm not saying Mike McCarthy is a good coach. I'm just saying that he took over the best situation. I think I like that hire because I hate the hire. You know what I mean? That's what it was.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Dallas is a good team. They have a good roster in place, but they don't have a quarterback at the moment. They need to franchise them again or sign them. So without a quarterback, we saw what this team could do. You couldn't even beat Washington with 2 opportunities. That's never a good sign.
Listen, we're good. Okay, we're a playoff team. Win the East.